Tyronn Lue explains why LeBron James, Dwyane Wade, and Derrick Rose didn't work with the Cavaliers. When LeBron James returned to Cleveland in 2014, the Cavaliers instantly transformed from a lottery team into a championship contender. The Kings' homecoming brought expectations of titles, and within 2 years, the Cavs delivered. The 2016 Finals comeback against Golden State remains one of the greatest upsets in basketball history. But by 2017, the shine had started to fade. Kyrie Irving forced his way out to Boston, Kevin Love battled injuries, and the Golden State Warriors had leveled up with Kevin Durant. Suddenly, LeBron's supporting cast looked thin. Cleveland needed reinforcements, and fast. The front office responded by surrounding LeBron with familiar names and decorated veterans. Among them were 2 former MVP-caliber players, Derrick Rose and Dwyane Wade. For fans, the thought of seeing LeBron and Wade reunited after their Miami Heat glory days was thrilling. Adding Rose, once the youngest MVP in NBA history, made the Cavaliers seem like a super team on paper. In reality, it was a failed experiment that lasted less than half a season. Tyronn Lue's candid explanation. Former Cavaliers head coach Tyronn Lue recently revisited that tumultuous season on Club Shay Shay. Speaking with Shannon Sharpe, he explained why the trio of James, Wade, and Rose never lived up to the hype. LeBron gave them the leeway to do whatever they want, Lue said. But I just think trying to figure it out, playing with each other, the spacing, the shooting, and all those components played a factor. It just wasn't a good fit. They could still play, it just wasn't a good fit basketball-wise. That's just kinda how it didn't work. But if I had a little bit more time, I would have been able to figure it out. It wasn't about talent. Wade, even in his mid-30s, could still create offense. Rose, despite his injuries, remained dangerous in spurts. The issue, as Lue highlighted, was fit. Why the pieces didn't fit at its core. Basketball chemistry is about complementing skills. The Cavaliers' version of Wade and Rose clashed with what LeBron needed most. Lack of spacing. Neither Rose nor Wade were reliable three-point shooters. Both thrived slashing to the rim and operating inside the arc. With LeBron also demanding the ball in similar areas, Cleveland's offense became congested. Defensive shortcomings. By the 2017-18 season, Wade and Rose weren't the defenders they once were. Combined with other aging veterans on the roster, the Cavs finished 29th in defensive rating. Inconsistent health and minutes. Rose appeared in just 16 games before stepping away from the team for personal reasons. Wade played 46 games but averaged a career-low 11.2 points. The rotation never found stability. Fans expected highlight reels and Miami-style chemistry. What they got instead was stagnant offense and porous defense. The mid-season overhaul. By February 2018, it was clear the roster needed a shakeup. Cleveland stood at 31-22, good enough for playoff positioning but far from title contention. General manager Kobe Altman pulled off one of the boldest trade deadline overhauls in NBA history. In a matter of hours, the Cavs shipped out Wade, Rose, Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Channing Frye, and Iman Shumpert. In their place came George Hill, Rodney Hood, Jordan Clarkson, and Larry Nance Jr. The moves rejuvenated the roster with youth, energy, and most importantly, shooting. While the Cavaliers were still flawed, the reset carried them to another finals appearance, their 4th straight with LeBron. Of course, the story ended with a sweep at the hands of the Warriors. The gap between Cleveland and Golden State was simply too wide. The end of an era. That 2018 Finals loss marked the end of LeBron's second chapter in Cleveland. He departed for the Los Angeles Lakers that summer, signaling a new phase of his career. Wade returned to Miami for a farewell tour, and Rose began bouncing around the league as a valuable role player before injuries and age eventually slowed him for good. For Cavaliers fans, the Wade and Rose experiment is remembered as a fascinating what-if moment. The names carried star power, but the results highlighted just how fragile team chemistry can be. Could it have worked? Tyronn Lue insists that with more time, he might have made the trio function. It's not impossible. Wade's playmaking, Rose's slashing, and LeBron's all-around brilliance could, in theory, have coexisted with the right role players around them. But the NBA landscape in 2018 offered little margin for error. Golden State's dynasty required near perfection from challengers. Houston's 7 seconds or less offense with James Harden and Chris Paul was redefining spacing. Cleveland simply didn't have the luxury of patience. Even if Lue had time to iron out rotations, the team's defensive liabilities and lack of outside shooting would have capped their ceiling. Against a Warriors squad featuring Durant, Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green, the Cavaliers' chances were slim. Legacy of the failed experiment. The short-lived partnership between James, Wade, and Rose serves as a reminder of how much basketball has evolved. A decade earlier, assembling three ball-dominant stars might have been enough. By 2018, success depended on shooting, spacing, and defensive versatility. It also underscores LeBron's incredible ability to adapt. While Wade and Rose struggled to fit beside him, younger role players like Clarkson and Nance were able to complement his game more effectively. For Wade, the Cleveland stint was little more than a pit stop on his way back to Miami. For Rose, it was another chapter in a winding career that showcased both resilience and heartbreak. For LeBron, it was the final straw convincing him to seek a new challenge in Los Angeles. Conclusion. The Cavaliers' attempt to rekindle LeBron's championship magic with Wade and Rose was bold, nostalgic, and ultimately doomed. Tyronn Lue believes he could have made it work with more time, but history suggests otherwise. The fit issues were too glaring, the NBA landscape too unforgiving. In the end, Cleveland's season ended the same way it began, with LeBron carrying a flawed roster as far as his greatness could take them. And while fans may wonder what could have been, the truth is simple. In 2018, no combination short of perfection was enough to topple the Golden State Warriors.